Hello, I'm Barry Silverberg, Director of the Center for Nonprofit Studies at Austin Community College, and this is Civil Society, a periodic podcast to provoke more thinking about issues affecting nonprofit effectiveness and success. My guest today is Juanita Budd, an innovative leader and digital literacy ambassador. Prior to assuming the leadership of Austin Freenet, Juanita served as Human Resources Director, Administrative and Operations Director, Chief Operations Officer, and Vice President of Programs for a large nonprofit which served 46 Texas counties. Juanita is a warm and caring person who lives to help others. So Juanita, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Barry.
My pleasure. I'd like to start with why you do what you do.
So back in 1999, I discovered social service agencies, and I started working with the Girl Scouts of Central Texas. And the work they did was incredible, from camping to cookies to also robotics. And I stayed there for roughly 13, 14 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. It is a long time. And one of the things that was exciting about the Girl Scouts, they brought robotics to girls. And I was as fascinated as the girls. And so that led me to my new opportunity with Austin Freenet.
Wow. So what we want to focus in on the bit of time that we have is the consequences of unequal digital access. What people, I think in the past, or maybe currently called digital divide. So why is it so important that we address this issue? What's the impact, the short-term and long-term impacts of what appears to be this inequality of access?
Unequal access costs this country roughly $55 billion a year through the lack of resources and goods and services, to education, to health issues, to job opportunities. People who don't use technology are behind the curve, and our society, as you know, is moving more and more to technology.
Absolutely.
Everything from fast food restaurants to technology use technology. 80% of Fortune 500 companies require online applications. So if a person doesn't have access to technology, that limits their opportunity for employment.
And the long-term impact on that is economic?
It's economic and social. We are now finding ourselves looking at other countries when we're talking about intellectual capacity of digital and technical advancements. And so if we're looking to other countries, what happens to the community that we serve? What happens to the Americas, right? So we really have to be careful about how we look at this. We can always source for other opportunities, but then what happens to our American citizens? That's a long-term impact.
So in terms of the services available from Austin Freenet, so it started out, as I recall, as an effort to provide internet services in the libraries. And that was quite a number of years ago.
Yeah, 1995.
1995.
Yes, yes.
And since then, obviously the libraries are now providing it, and it's available a lot of places. So how, from your original mission, how has the mission changed?
So yes, the libraries are providing technology services, and so are other people, because we're digital by default. They have to, but that's not their primary responsibilities. And many of the librarians who are surveyed indicate that not only do they not have the right resources, but they don't have the training as well. So places like Austin Freenet still is very much needed. Also, we've discovered that people not only need to learn how to use technology, but then enhance their quality of life. And so Austin Freenet now provides IT certification training and A+, Network and Security Plus. And so we're going from teaching people how to move the mouse all the way up through a lifelong opportunity in technology.
So you're moving from move the mouse to finding the cheese.
Absolutely.
That's pretty good.
Because people will move the cheese.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how extensive is the lack of digital access in our community?
In our community, it's roughly 55,000 households that we've done through a survey with the city of Austin that lacks technology. Globally, there is about 3 to 5 million families have been identified that do not have access to technology. And think about children now. I think 80% of the schools require online access to technology to do homework. So the very children that need the resources may have them in the classroom, but they go home without any broadband and can't do homework.
So your concern is providing the broadband. Now you also, as you mentioned before, you also teach people how to use, because one of the problems, if I recall, originally was companies would give away the equipment and then it would just sit there.
Yes, they're unlocking the connection with which is a big promotion through Google Fiber, the Housing Authority of the City of Austin, Ford Foundation. We did a study and realized that there really are 3 elements to the digital divide. It's the device itself, it's the internet access or the broadband, and then how to use the tools. And so without any one of those legs of the stool, you have a divide. And that's what we consider the digital divide, which is really pushed by economic and social impacts.
So the divide right now is, as you're saying, is primarily economic.
Economic
in terms of reasons why people don't have access.
and social. Think about what's going on in the media in our world today.
I was going to ask you that.
Well, go ahead. I'll let you ask.
No, you go ahead and you go and say it first.
Yeah, we talk about fake news. We talk about research. All of that information. If you don't have access to it, what do you do? There's just a huge need. People who don't have access to digital literacy can't get involved socially and engage politically, and that's where some of the changes are made in our society. Parents can't talk to their students' teachers because everybody tells them to go online, and they say, what's online and how do I get access to online? So it really impacts us. I guess the ultimate outcome is the economic, but it's social as well. Older people, veterans, you know, they use technology to change their isolation. Mm-hmm. Elderly people are isolated because children fly all over the country. They don't stay in the same town anymore. They don't get pictures of their grandkids. And so teach them how to use Facebook, and they feel connected. Even if they're not posting, they can go and look at their grandkids and really engage. Telemedicine, telehealth's online. People who use technology have an advantage over those who don't. They don't have to go on the corner and stand for hours to catch the bus to go to the doctor. They can use technology to fill that gap.
Cool. I know in the issue of literacy in general, mm-hmm. there's a very strong shame factor mm-hmm. that exists for people who can't read, mm-hmm. and they kind of make up for it and hide it. Does that relate at all to digital?
Absolutely.
How does it manifestate?
Especially with adults, right? Adults only want to learn what they need to learn, and until they identify that this is a barrier, they avoid it. So when we have class, oftentimes an adult will say, oh, I can't see, I left my glasses. They come back, oh goodness, I left my glasses again. Or they make up excuses, and they know how to navigate. You know, adults are really smart. We figure out how to take care of business without having to do things. For example, adults who cannot read, they'll tell their child, let me see if you can read, honey. Read this sentence for me. And then that child becomes the parental information system. And so they do the same type of things with technology. I can't see, it's too small. Oh, help me with this opportunity. I think it's less shameful because technology moves so fast. I know my kids talk about Snapchatting and Pinterest, and I'm still on Facebook. So yeah,
I make my kids wash their mouths out when they talk like that. But
absolutely. So it moves quicker. So there's a little less shame, but people make an assumption that you know how to use the technology.
Absolutely. So what trends are changing? Mm-hmm. Okay, the Austin Freenet has changed dramatically in 25 years, 30 years, whatever it is. My math is not that good.
About 20. Yeah.
Okay. Where's it going? What does Austin Freenet look like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, in terms of services, clientele?
I think we'll still be providing some public access opportunities, but I think we're going to be moving into the training component. What does employers need for Austinites, for Americans to have in the technology space to compete with the global economy? What type of trainings can we provide? Do we need to do more hardware training, or is it software training? Is it analytics, statistical analytics, or digital analytics? Data, there's just so much. Even the gaming industry is something that uses technology. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be a genius, but kids get on there and they learn how to maneuver those things. There is data behind that can push the sales of games and to impact how games are made or find glitches. So there's quality assurance. There's all kinds of opportunity, and I see Austin Freenet being one of the leaders in identifying those types of.
So one of the things I'm hearing is moving into the area of workforce development.
Absolutely, that's where we're moving, and that's where we are right now with our IT certifications.
And where does the Austin Freenet get its funding? Who supports this?
So the Texas Workforce Commission funds us. Austin Community College, through a Texas Innovative Adult Career Education ACE grant, provides us with funding.
Can you say that again?
And City of Austin provides us funding, the MIDI Foundation, Google Fiber. There are a plethora of organizations that really see the value of Austin Freenet and the work that we do.
It's good they recognize that.
I appreciate
So
it.
in your bio narrative, and I quoted it in my introduction, you describe yourself, or you're described as a digital literacy ambassador.
What's a digital literacy ambassador?
That I would have asked it differently, but that's the question.
Someone who advocates for technology support for the underrepresented communities. So I just want people to understand and know that technology is our future, but we also need to make sure that those who don't have access are not left behind, because we're as strong as our weakest link, right?
Absolutely.
And so we want to make sure that we provide those services to people who could help us all reach the top.
So if somebody is watching this and they're really turned on and they want to do something to be of help, okay, what might they do?
So you can advocate on Austin Freenet's behalf. We'll train you to do that. We have volunteers, and not just to teach people how to use computers, but we need help with data, mining our data, really figuring out why this gap is still existing in a city so technologically savvy. We need people to help us with basic classes, hosting a Word, Excel, Google Docs class. We'd love to do that. So any type of volunteer communications, we have a newsletter that needs to go out. Any type of work you can imagine, hosting a website, we could use support in that. Just give us a call at 512-236-8225 and we'll get you set up.
And so I suspect you wouldn't mind if somebody sent you money?
That would be fantastic.
I mean, that would help?
That would be probably the biggest help.
Cool. So what is it that, when we sum it all up, would you like somebody who is either watching you right now or you're talking with, what is it most that you want them to know about the literacy, the digital inequality literacy issue?
I think what I really want people to know is that if we increase broadband by just 1%, that's a $700 million impact in the state of Texas.
That's access to.
Access to. And Austin Freenet can help provide that and bridge that divide. And so if you're interested, please feel free to contact me at Austin Freenet, www.austinfree.net.
That's what I like about you. You're so shy. Juanita, thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Please visit our website, nonprofitaustin.org/civil society, to read more about digital literacy and Austin Freenet, and share your comments on today's podcast. This is Barry Silverberg with Civil Society, a Center for Nonprofit Studies podcast, in collaboration with the wonderful folks at ACC TV. Thank you for joining us.